devastating news, I would say, but I don't think it was unexpected given the time period of the season. Caitlin Clark announced on her social media that she will miss the rest of the season. She captioned it in short, in part, "I had hoped to share a better update, but I will not be returning to play this season. I spent hours in the gym every day with a singular goal of getting back out there. Disappointed isn't a big enough word to describe how I am feeling." She was limited to 13 games this season.
This is crazy. The WNBA never wanted to hear the reality that Candace Parker just revealed. Caitlin Clark's closure for Indiana going down for the entire year is more than simply a setback. The league as a whole is in complete chaos. Furthermore, rather than becoming quieter, the whispers are now growing louder. What happens if Clark quits the WNBA entirely because she's had enough? It isn't paranoid. That is the worst case situation. The league believed it had more time to address its issues, but the clock is ticking. If Caitlin Clark were to leave the WNBA tomorrow, how would it change? Warning, it would be disastrous. A problem that they are no longer able to ignore. Clark has been officially incapacitated for just 2 years of her professional career due to persistent leg and groin ailments. Even in her well-considered public remarks, you can hear the exasperation. Despite her grief, followers are able to decipher her emotions. This goes beyond a failed season. This is about a league that refused to defend the very stars sustaining it, a climate that failed her, and constant pressure.
She was limited to 13 games this season, and she hasn't played since July 15th when she suffered a right groin injury in the final minute of the Fever's win versus the Sun right before the All-Star game.
I mean, that's our girl. You know, that's our girl. And I feel like no matter what happened, you have to protect you and you have to protect your career.
Let's introduce Candace Parker, a legend who is the best person to understand what it means to strain a body to its breaking point. She didn't mince words. Parker stated unequivocally that Clark was correct to shut it down. She acknowledged that she paid the price for trying to push through ailments and ignoring warning flags in the latter stages of her own career. She gave Clark a very obvious message. Don't allow the league to intimidate you into jeopardizing your future. Don't do what I did. Prioritize taking care of your body. That is authority-driven wisdom.
There's no reason to force anything. And I feel like her just kind of having that approach of doing what's best for her is all we can ask for, because we'd rather Caitlin sit out and then come back next season and we're ready to roll and we're ready to rock. And so we've just been supporting her and she's been supporting us. She's always there. We're getting to watch film and she's in there walking through saying, "Hey," and we're like, get out, go do what you need to do. But I mean, she's still the same. And I feel like our approach, because we've been missing her for so long, is just to come in and compete. And we have a good rhythm, I think, with everyone that's came in. And so just keeping that as our main focus.
Here's the larger problem though. This goes beyond Clark's health. The future of the WNBA as a whole is in jeopardy. Because of her, attendance, TV ratings, and jersey sales all increased dramatically. She brought the entire league into the spotlight, not just the Fever. As executives rush to explain this catastrophe, the WNBA's one golden ticket is currently sitting on the sidelines in street clothes. This is the obvious and disturbing question. Suppose Clark declares, "I'm done." What if she makes decisions about her physique, job, that her future entails more than destroying herself for a league that doesn't care when she's pushed across the court? That would be nuclear fallout. To be honest, fans didn't attend because they suddenly become interested in the WNBA. They came because they were concerned about Clark. They purchased her tickets. Her jersey was worn by them. They focused on her best moments. The arena will be deserted tonight if she leaves. You're back to live streaming and gyms that are just half full. No one clicks. Remember that this was preventable. By declining to defend her, the league had already tossed the dice. Every game devolved into combat. Defenders elbowed her, shoved her in midair, and hip-checked her. It resembled hockey more than basketball. The refs swallowed their whistles. Everyone in Angel Bird's office assumed it was merely physical play, and the workplace remained silent. Their golden goose, which produces all of those golden eggs, is currently gone for the year. Well done, WNBA. Outstanding effort.
Steph White had said that they were hopeful that Clark would return by the end of the regular season, but Caitlin was unable to fully reincorporate back into practice. And, you know, She had never missed a game in her collegiate career or first year in the WNBA. So this is definitely a blow, I'm sure, for the organization, but also for her. Fever went 8-5 when Clark played and 15-15 without her. You all did win the Commissioner's Cup for the first time in franchise history without her. So maybe that is also another precursor. But big picture from the outside looking in, I have been a player that has had a number of injuries.
Parker can definitely see it. Basketball in the playoffs is not only difficult, but also cruel. Harder, faster, and nastier. When to push a star back from injury is at its worst. A Ferrari isn't appropriate for a demolition derby, but that's precisely what the WNBA desired. Clark is hobbling around in an attempt to gain a few more points. That is not leadership. It is desperation. The problem is that Clark is aware of her true power. The WNBA is not necessary for her. She is needed by the WNBA. She still has a variety of options if she decides to resign tomorrow, including international ball, endorsements, broadcasting, and even launching her own company. In the meantime, the NBA has supported the league as a charity case for many years. The WNBA experienced its greatest growth spurt after decades of trying to make an impression. Thanks to Clark. They went farther than all of Angel Bird's lectures put together, thanks to one athlete who was just entering her sophomore season. The leave in the league discussion seems so genuine because of this. It's already being said aloud by fans. I won't be watching if Clark isn't playing. That is devotion to her rather than the league. They will walk if she does. And that's how immediate remorse appears.
And taking the time. And there is a difference in being a role player and coming in and playing a role and coming in off of an injury. There is a rhythm. But when you are Caitlin Clark and you have the ball in your hands and you are on the other team's scouting report, to come in half and not be able to be in that amount of, I would say, shape, rhythm of the game, because the rhythm of the game changes towards the end of the year. And so when it started getting closer to the end of the regular season, I was like, it's dangerous to come back during playoff basketball because the whole flow, the physicality, all of that is different. And so I know it's difficult to kind of take time and understand the big picture, especially when you're living with tunnel vision and you've worked so hard to get to where you're at, but it's the smart thing. And I'm proud of this generation for taking the time they need, looking at the bigger picture, and making sure that they get healthy. So, Caitlin Clark, hope you feel better. You have a great offseason and you come back.
Candace Parker deserves praise for voicing the necessary opinions. She wasn't merely giving Clark advice. In a roundabout way, she was encouraging the WNBA to treat its players with respect. Don't push them into the earth any longer. Don't push them back too quickly. Clark is more than just a piece of rotation. She is the player that is circled in red in every scouting report. She has no business being out there if she isn't feeling her best. Parker essentially gave her credit for seeing that fact before it was too late. Here's the twist though. Trust is more important here than just health. Clark put his all into the game. She even claimed that in order to fight back, she was grinding for hours every day in rehab. Her remarks were filled with anguish. However, she made no mention of the league, the officials, or the leadership when it came time to express gratitude. She expressed gratitude to her teammates and supporters for a period. That's telling. For her, the fans turned out. The league didn't. The door is now open for any conversation that Clark might have about walking away because of this. She has already discovered the hard way that she will not be protected by the WNBA. Why would you continue to play a rigged game? Consider what would happen if Caitlin Clark decided to leave the WNBA if you truly want to make the connection. Investors and other leagues would be vying for her services. Imagine Clark playing in Europe, where she could play fewer games, get tax-free money, and let's face it, actually receive a whistle from the officials. Or imagine her giving up basketball completely and dedicating her time to media ownership, broadcasting endorsements, or NIL-style initiatives that benefit the future generation. She has the potential to create an empire that surpasses the WNBA. As the league and the savior they wasted flourished without them, they would be left grasping their regrets. Here's the problem though. The Clark saga is not taking place in a vacuum. The WNBA has previously been present. They have experienced both difficulties and stars. Angel Reese frequently made news for the wrong reasons. Players voiced complaints regarding poor facilities, pay, and travel circumstances. This annoying almost there but not quite state has long pervaded the league. After Clark's arrival, people flocked to the scene. For a split second, it appeared as though all of the previous issues had suddenly disappeared. However, the illusion vanished as soon as Clark was injured, the curtain came down, and everyone was confronted with the same old WNBA problems. This is where Candace Parker's voice is most noticeable. She has previously experienced this. She acknowledged that she paid dearly, disregarded injuries, and overexerted her body during her own career. As a retired legend, she is essentially raising a red flag at this point. Don't make the same mistakes I did. The league hasn't learned anything, as evidenced by the fact that she must even say this. And what do you think the league will do next? Issue a sterilized press statement regarding Caitlyn's recuperation or player safety? Fans are able to see through that. On the court, they observed her being pummeled. They observed officials swallowing whistles. As Clark hobbled through games, they observed the league leadership remain silent. That cannot be fixed by a statement. For this reason, it is hardly a pipe dream that Clark would quit the WNBA. It is a plausible possibility, and the consequences will be disastrous if it does. All of those record-breaking ticket sales, merchandise sales, and social media highlight reels vanished in an instant. The league would immediately return to being irrelevant and beg networks for a meager amount of airtime. Perhaps the WNBA wouldn't wake up until they experienced that disgrace. However, given its past, don't rely on it. And relying solely on stars isn't enough. That is what the WNBA has always done. The league was carried by Diana Taurasi. Candace Parker came next. Clark came after Maya Moore. Here's the distinction though. There is more to Caitlin Clark than meets the eye. The star is her. It was she who introduced the game to millions of new viewers. It was she who transformed arenas into events. You simply cannot afford to lose her. But here we are. The fissures are visible. On the surface, her latest social media message regarding the injury was courteous, but admirers could sense the frustration in every word. She claimed to be disappointed, but it doesn't even begin to describe how she felt. That sounds more like betrayal to Clark. She fulfilled her end of the bargain. She was employed. She produced. She turned into the narrative the league sorely needed. What did she receive in exchange? Elbows, egregious fouls, and lack of protection until her season ended. For Clark, this is year 2 rather than year 1. The hype ought to be firmly established by now. Instead of watching the playoff highlights from the sidelines, she ought to be the star. Rather, the WNBA is facing a huge moment that will affect their entire season. We shouldn't mince language. The WNBA will see a sharp decline in ratings if Caitlin Clark walks. Arenas that resemble abandoned towns, irate sponsors who are demanding explanations, and a commissioner who is frantically making justifications. Treating Clark like the superstar she is the only way to prevent that train disaster. This entails defending her on the court rather than only putting her on posters. Fair officiating is required. This is providing her with real support for her long-term career rather than just taking advantage of her for a short-term profit. This is the crux of the problem. Stars are not protected by the WNBA. They take advantage of them. They profit from them. They advertise them extensively. However, the league is completely absent when it comes to genuinely protecting their jobs, reputation, and health. That's the pattern, and Clark is picking it up more quickly than anyone else. She was literally urged to look at the wider picture by Candace Parker. She informed her that half-healed injuries have no place in the postseason. She expressed her pride that Clark took his time returning. In addition to praising Clark's maturity, that serves as a warning that should she let it, the WNBA will gladly force her body into the ground. And consider Clark's decision in this case. She was being pushed to go back by every single force. She refused despite the fanfare, the sponsors, the media, and the playoff story. Even so, she made her future decision. Regarding the league's plight, that choice is quite telling. It demonstrates that she is more aware of her worth than the league is. Fans are also aware of it. Arenas were being filled by them. It was they who purchased the tickets months in advance. Many of them are now openly expressing the WNBA's top fears. Why should I watch Clark if he isn't performing? That is the terrifying phrase that keeps coming up on ticket websites, social media, and living rooms. This isn't a trivial dispute like the most recent drama with Angel Reese. This headline regarding charter flights isn't unique. This is the diamond in the WNBA's crown. One of the finest of all time, Candace Parker freely admits, yes, this was the right move. It's more than simply a headline, it's a crisis. Thus, the league is confronted with a decision. They have two options. Either they take charge at last, defend their best player, and demonstrate that they can handle success, or they watch Caitlin Clark leave and take their whole future with her. Because Clark isn't naive, let's be clear. She's aware of her worth. She is aware that she is greater than the league and that it loses sway once a player recognizes they are not dependent on it. That change isn't something the WNBA is prepared for. Fans were upset when Parker retired, but the league persisted. Although Sue Bird's retirement was painful, the league continued. There is no recovery with Clark. You can't move on. You don't take her place. In her absence, you fell apart. So WNBA, congratulations. You finally got a celebrity after pleading for one. Every promo you did included her face. You boasted about how well she rated. You tried to extract as much money as you could from her. After that, you allowed her to be beaten, shoved, and hacked until her body failed. You're looking at the doomsday question now that she's out for the playoffs. What happens if she never returns? The bottom line is as follows. The league was quieted by Caitlin Clark's ailments, but it would end when she quit. The WNBA cannot continue to exist without Candace Parker just revealed that gemstone to her. What admirers already knew was confirmed by her. Clark has good reason to defend herself. Additionally, Clark may decide that no press release can be spun if the league doesn't change its ways and continues to disregard the warning flags. She will permanently go, and the WNBA's immediate regret will be their obituary at that point, not just a term. Please share your thoughts about Caitlin leaving the WNBA in the comments section below. Turn on all notifications, like, unsubscribe to ensure you don't miss anything. After you click the video on the screen, we'll talk in the next.